In Venezuela, President Nicolás Maduro met with independent opposition leaders at the Miraflores Palace. In China, authorities suspended consultations with the United States on arms control and non-proliferation. And in Kenya, at least 3 people were killed during a new wave of protests demanding the resignation of President William Ruto. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, held a meeting with leaders of the independent opposition seeking to ratify a consensual path for the preservation of peace in view of the upcoming presidential elections. During the reception at the Miraflores Palace, the head of state highlighted the approach with this opposition sector, which ratified its willingness to preserve peace, to work for the development of the country despite of its adverse stances. In the meeting, Nicolás Maduro highlighted his pronouncements in favor of peace, coexistence, and the search for consensual path. President of Parliament, Jorge Rodriguez, underlined the hope that these type of meetings will be repeated and send the message that beyond the differences, they can converge in common proposals for defense of peace. Let's continue with our news. The Vice President of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Diosdado Cabello, assured that the electoral victory will be achieved with work and mobilization. The statement was made by Cabello on Tuesday during a massive rally held in Lara State within the framework of the electoral campaign. There, the revolution's followers gathered in support to the presidential candidate of the Great Patriotic Poll, Nicolás Maduro. Likewise, leaders of different social movements joined the demonstrations and ratified their joint work towards achieving the electoral triumph on July 28th.
The whole international community puts the spotlight on our country. Brothers and sisters, let's prepare for victory. Let's defend our victory. Let's get ready to take care of our nation's peace. Let's not fall for their provocations. Let's not fall. Let's not give them any reasons, so when they make mistakes we will act. And we know how to act because we have learned it. We cannot allow them. We cannot allow our children to be manipulated. We cannot allow them to generate violence at the expense of the people's blood, as the opposition doesn't deserve a single drop of blood of the people, not a single one anymore. July 28th, it's an appointment with history, an appointment that will mark the before and after of what is to come, because after July 28th I am sure that the irreversibility of the revolutionary people and this Chavista revolution begins.
Venezuelan presidential candidate Jose Brito highlighted the country's potential and called for a lasting change. The opposition candidate affirmed that if elected, he will advance in the construction of a positive change for the country. During the course of his electoral campaign, Brito has stressed his intention to give the country's depolarization an opportunity. Among his government proposals, he also highlighted the enactment of a law for universal non-contributory pensions. And presidential candidate for the Center Party, Enrique Marquez, stated that to the National Electoral Council his support for the presence of at least 749 international observers that will accompany the electoral process, guaranteeing greater transparency and security. The candidate acknowledged the electoral schedule announced by the electoral authorities and expressed his support. On Tuesday, 261 Venezuelan citizens arrived from Mexico to Venezuela as part of the Great Mission Return to the Homeland. They were received by Foreign Minister Ivan Hill at the airport. A correspondent, Juno Soner, has the details.
The plane of Conviasa, Venezuela's flag carrier, landed at 10:30 a.m. at Simón Bolívar International Airport. Its passengers, 261 Venezuelan citizens. Michelle Martinez returned after 8 years abroad, where her son was born.
I made the decision to return to Venezuela mainly for personal reasons. I wanted to see my father. For 8 years, I haven't seen him, my grandmother, my family. I wanted them to meet my son, so I decided that there is nothing that money can buy as nice as family happiness.
So much excitement, because I'm coming back after 6 years.
Many of them had left to find a better economic future. They faced a different reality.
I left because, really, not because of the bad situation, because I had a job here, I had a house. Not because I was starving, not because of anything, I can't lie. I went believing what other people said. When you arrive, you see that it is not like that, whatever they told you, you know. They are the same people who treat you badly, they even throw you out on the street.
The citizens were received at the airport by the Venezuelan Foreign Minister Iván Gil, who gave a short speech of welcome.
Truly, this is a moment of deep joy. I repeat, I am sure there are many more compatriots outside that we are going to seek to bring back, that we are going to take care of them wherever they are.
The flight from Mexico was organized by the Bolivarian government within the Gran Misión Vuelta a la Patria. Gil declared that 500,000 citizens had returned since its beginning and added,
Venezuela abre nuevamente sus brazos a sus hijos, a sus hijas.
Venezuela opens again its arms to its sons and daughters. This is not only a matter of social attention, but we, Venezuela as a whole, we need each other, we all need each other. Here we need intellect, we need love, we are building a new country, after having suffered so much in these last years. We are building a new country, we are being reborn, we are recovering economically.
The Gran Misión not only means the transfer of citizens to Venezuela, but also their reintegration into the legal system, society and the economy. But first, the government offered them public transportation to reach their homes and see their families and loved ones. Yunus Soner, TeleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Argentina, the government of President Javier Milei has officially created the May Council to implement the guidelines set out in the May Pact. The initiative is part of an agreement signed by 17 governors on July 9th during the Independence Day celebrations in the province of Tucumán. In this sense, presidential spokesman Manuel Adorni was in charge of confirming the formation of the council within the next 30 days, detailing that the instance will be integrated by a president, a councillor proposed by the executive, another proposed by the provinces, signatories of the pact, and the city of Buenos Aires, and another proposed by the chambers of parliament, the trade union organizations, and entrepreneurs. The May Council will be responsible for drafting laws to implement the proposals promised by Milei in the May Pact, which includes principles to seek a new economic order, such as the inviolability of private property, the reduction of public spending to around 25% of GDP, a modern labor reform that promotes formal work, the opening up to international trade so that Argentina can become a protagonist in the global market, and a useful and modern basic primary and secondary education with full literacy and no school dropouts. In this context, the International Monetary Fund forecasts for Argentina have worsened. It now expects economic activity to fall by 3.5% in 2024. The figure is much more pessimistic than the 2.8% drop initially forecast. Among the causes of this new debacle are the fall in consumption both by the state and by private consumers and the decrease in the purchasing power of salaried workers. The lack of demand caused private investment to also suffer a sharp drop. Argentina is currently the only country that will have a fall in its activity in 2024, while countries such as Brazil and Mexico will increase between 2.1% and 2.2%. The social crisis that Argentina is experiencing during the government of Javier Milei is worsening due to the increase in poverty and homelessness. teleSUR's correspondent in Argentina, Juan Carlos Bartolota, pointed out that the increase in poverty, which reached more than 50% of the population in May, and the lack of assistance policies on the part of the national government and the city of Buenos Aires worsened the problem. In December 2023, NGOs and other charity associations reported around 10,000 homeless people, with 85% of them living in Buenos Aires. The president-elect of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, declared on Tuesday that she will support with economic funds women who have been domestic workers and are in charge of caregiving tasks. During a meeting with women between 60 and 64 years old, many of them indigenous Mazahua and Mixtec, Sheinbaum assured them that her government will recognize the housework they do by giving them an economic support, a law initiative that is expected to be approved next September. In this sense, the elected president assured that the measure will bring more autonomy to women by allowing them to have their own resources. The action follows in the purposes of Sheinbaum's campaign, which promised the implementation of reforms and programs to promote substantive equality and eradicate violence against women. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will meet on Wednesday with the ministers of foreign affairs of 11 countries of the African continent. This is the foreign affairs ministerial meeting of the Alliance for Economic Prosperity in the Americas, in which, in addition to the United States, Barbados, Canada, Chile, Costa Rica, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Mexico, Panama, Peru, and Uruguay will participate, according to the State Department in a press release. They will discuss ongoing collaboration to realize the hemisphere's potential to foster inclusive, sustainable, and shared prosperity for all, the text reads. According to the State Department, the overall goal of the Partnership of the Americas is to make the Americas the most economically competitive region in the world. The Chinese government suspended consultations with the United States on arms control and non-proliferation. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said the decision comes as Washington continues to supply arms to Taiwan, ignoring Beijing's firm objection to this. The official further accused the U.S. of taking a series of actions that seriously damage China's core interests and undermine the political trust between the two nations. China expressed its willingness to maintain communication with the United States on international arms control issues, as long as it is based on mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and mutually beneficial cooperation. We have a short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly, share the link to reach more people, constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. For a short break, don't go away. Welcome back. On Wednesday, at least 3 people were killed in Kenya following a new wave of protests demanding the resignation of President William Ruto. In this way, the local media reported that as part of the repression of the mobilizations against Ruto's economic reform, 1 man was killed in the city of Kitengela in the south of the country, while another lost his life in the business district of Nairobi, and the third was killed in the center of the Kenyan capital. In the meantime, the National Human Rights Commission denounces the death of at least 53 people, in addition to 575 injured and more than 2,000 arrested since the beginning of demonstrations. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah warned Israel that the resistance will destroy all the occupation troops' tanks that try to enter Lebanon. The Secretary General of the Islamic Resistance Movement of Lebanon reiterated that Israel is committing war crimes against civilians in revenge for the victories that the Palestinian resistance has achieved. Nasrallah assured that the Israeli government is living its worst moment, with crisis at all levels and a situation that is worsening with each passing day. The Hezbollah leader also promised that they will continue their support to Gaza and ratify that the United States supports war crimes. The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas said in a statement that it accepted China's invitation to meet with other Palestinian factions to discuss the post-war future of the Gaza Strip. A member of Hamas Political Bureau and head of the National Relations Office, Hussam Badran, stated in a press release to the Anadolu agency that Hamas and the Palestinian factions have received a kind of invitation from the People's Republic of China to hold an expanded meeting. On Tuesday, China's foreign ministry expressed its readiness to provide a platform and create opportunities for Palestinian factions to reconcile and dialogue, but did not confirm the meeting. However, Hamas and the Fatah Party already met in the Chinese capital last April. At least 10 Palestinian civilians were killed on Wednesday amid Israeli shelling and artillery attacks on several towns in the Gaza Strip. The attack occurred in the vicinity of the Sunna Mosque, south of the Nusayrat Palestinian refugee camp. At least 2 civilians were killed and others were injured in an Israeli airstrike on a residential building which houses displaced persons in the Nusayrat area. In Gaza City, Israel artillery targeted homes in Tal al-Hawa neighborhood, southwest of the city, while warplanes targeted the Abu Iskandar area in the Sheikh Radwan neighborhood north of Gaza. In a new devastating wave of Israeli terrorist violence, the Zionist army carried out several airstrikes that wreaked havoc in the Gaza Strip, killing dozens of civilians and injuring many more. One of the most affected areas was the city of Han Yunis, where 13 civilians were killed and many wounded after an airstrike targeted the Al-Attar area at the west of the city. Meanwhile, in Beit Lahia, northern Gaza, 4 civilians were killed and 5 others were wounded during Israeli shelling of a gathering of civilians at the Sheikh Zayed traffic circle. Local health authorities confirmed that the death toll from the Israeli attacks exceeds 38,700 and the number of wounded exceeds 89,100. And in the United States, the Major League Baseball All-Star break activities came to an end on Tuesday with the usual matchup between the players most voted by fans.
Wednesday night saw the American League All-Star team beat the National League by a score of 5-3. The 2024 game is the 94th edition of the Midsummer Classic, which the American League now leads with 48 wins and 44 losses in the all-time series, including wins in 10 of the past 11 games.
In the regular season, and in his second at-bat in the All-Star game, he launches second baseman Luis Arraez.
The presence of Latin players at the 2024 All-Star game was notable, with a total of 23 players, including 11 players from the Dominican Republic, 6 players from Venezuela, Puerto Rico with 3 representatives, 2 Mexicans and 1 Cuban.
Here's a high fly ball off of the bat of Jarren Duran.
In this sense, the Mexican player Jarren Duran, in his first All-Star game, was named the 2024 All-Star Game MVP after he hit a tie-breaking two-run homer to secure the win for the American League.
Continues here with a home run in the All-Star game. Teoscar Hernandez is in. Our final 4 is set. Teoscar Hernandez.
On Monday, another Latin player made history in the home run derby when Dominican player Teoscar Hernandez won the battle for the most home runs in a competition between the best sluggers in Major League Baseball.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.